What up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel, and thank y'all for tuning in. It's your boy Matty B, and wow, did we have an insane weekend at the Motocross of Nations. I know the word insane is kind of some clickbait YouTube jargon, but it really was insane. There's really no other way to say it. But Motocross of Nations is definitely the craziest and best race I've ever been to. If you haven't been, you gotta go. I mean, there's just so much going on. There's AMA versus MXGP, every country versus each other, tons of crazy fans. The crowd is absolutely bonkers. And being that this thing was on home soil, you guys should have heard how hard the crowd was backing our guys. Everywhere you went, the crowd noise followed them. If they made a pass, you heard the whole place erupt. You didn't even really have to be watching the race. You just had to listen and watch the crowd. But we saw tons of different cultures. People from all over the world came from far and wide to Ironman Raceway. And with the AMA versus MXGP dynamic, there's different riding styles, different technique, and it's always fun to watch. And I kind of actually couldn't believe I pulled this off. Well, we had track access to do media at the Motocross of Nations, so I don't know if you saw me on MXGP TV or not, just running around full sprint like Forrest Gump all around Ironman, trying to get every angle I possibly could in every moto. I'm cooked. We did like 25, 30 miles at least. I don't even know, probably more. But we had the best view in the house. We were trackside. I was mere feet from the action. I actually almost got hit by Jet Lawrence. Definitely had the best seat in the house. So with that trackside access, in this video, I'll tell you guys everything I saw at the event. But before we get into all that, I gotta first of all give all of you that watched my videos and checked out my content over the weekend a massive thank you. It was definitely the best weekend of content I've ever had, especially as far as the numbers go. A lot of you were tuning in, a lot of you were engaging and commenting and all that fun stuff. And yeah, it was a lot of hard work. I mean, I ran the entire Ironman track layout like 8 or 9 times, but it's all just passion based. I really love it. I want to get every angle, every spot I possibly can to just show you guys how gnarly it is. And I'm really stoked that it paid off. The YouTube has really been coming around this year, and we've been working hard on it. So I just wanted to thank all of you that watched. It means a lot and really helps me keep this thing going. So thank you very much. And also, got to give a huge thank you to my channel sponsors. Big thank you to ASV Inventions, thank you to Sirius Studio, and thank you to the DesignLabCo.com. If you guys buy from them, a small slice goes to me to support keep the channel going. So if you guys are supporting them, you're supporting me. But I got discount codes, links, all that fun stuff in my video description. So do me a favor, go check them out. They're supporting the sport. And without further ado, let's get into today's video. First of all, some thoughts on the track on home soil at Ironman. Kind of everybody's opinion as the track has kind of gotten a little bit neutered over the years. I actually did the first ever Ironman National in 2014, which was a total quagmire national. I qualified with almost a 4-minute lap time and went straight into the show. But the track was massive. It was really long, huge jumps. Of course, everybody's been up in arms and controversy about Godzilla, but there was a massive triple step up. Everything was just big, but over the years, you know, kind of to cater to the crowd, cater to TV and shorter lap times and stuff, it's gotten a little bit less extreme, a little bit tamer, and a lot shorter. So as far as the riders are concerned, I think everybody kind of misses the old track, but you know, when you're on live TV, you got tons of fans, especially at the Nations, the crowd that they had. It's like you couldn't even fit a sardine in there. So all those things are huge factors in a track layout when you're thinking of pro motocross or a Nations. But as far as this year's track, I actually think most of the riders kind of struggled with the surface because, you know, the guys that were on Team USA and a few of the other countries, you know, they just raced Ironman 2 months ago at the beginning of August. So you would think they were pretty familiar with it. But I guess there were some MXGP people in charge of the track prep, so the surface was a little bit different. They didn't rip it near as deep, and it was a lot more hard packed, a lot slipperier, and I know that a lot of the American-based guys were really struggling with their setups because if I had to guess, they probably set it up like they did 2 months prior, and with the track being so much different in just a short 2-month span, that had to have thrown everybody for a loop. I mean, I even saw Hunter and Jet's bikes stepping out, and yeah, they were kind of like the best guys at the race, so safe to say setup was a bit of a struggle. But they didn't rip it quite as much, and then there was mulch on top, and then that makes it even extra icy slick underneath. So, you know, whenever the track was freshly prepped, it was nice and fluffy, titty city, but right when you got down to that base, it was super icy, and scoop tires were in the contract because the start was ripped 6 or 9 feet. So definitely a sketchy dynamic. We had some times that were sketchier than kindergarten artwork, but it's all part of the contract. These guys are the best in the world, and yeah, it's kind of on them to handle it, I guess. But I was listening to Lewis Phillips and Steve Mathis's post-race interviews, and it was actually kind of hilarious. It seemed like it was mostly the Europeans that were all pissed off about the track prep. They watch the racing in America on TV, and they see how it's all nice with ruts and good traction, and it's all soft, and I think they were thinking they were going to come over here and ride that, but turns out they just came over and got pretty much the same thing that they're used to at home, just on a different continent. Now let's get into the team results. With the win, as we all know, oi, 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 the Aussies absolutely crushed it. And yeah, Team USA with second, they had RJ crash a few times, maybe more than a few. Jay Cooper rode awesome, but maybe had a few spots left in the tank if he was at his absolute best that day and had been on a 250 a little longer. But with that all being said, I think even if Team USA had performed perfectly and if Team USA had had Deegan and Sexton, I still don't know that any of those things would have been enough to take down the Aussies because, I mean, they won every moto. They went like 1-1-1-3. And the only thing that even gave him a mild chance is that Kyle Webster crashed in the first turn in both of his motos. But that dude straight up saved Team Australia. First moto, I think he came back to like 15th or something. Second moto, that dude never stopped charging. Every time he came through, he had made up several spots. And I think he made his way all the way back to 13th. So, yeah, with your bad score being a 13th and then having 3 wins in a third, nobody's beating that team. So congratulations, Team Australia. We might be getting into a tough era here because I don't think this team's going anywhere anytime soon. And then there's another young up-and-comer, Caden Manier. And with the Lawrence brothers' dominance, that's got to be inspiring some young Groms out of Australia as well. So I don't know if this dominance is going to end anytime soon. We might be headed into a Team USA era where there's going to be several years where it just doesn't seem like they can do any wrong. But right now, they're the best in the world. Congratulations, Kangaroos. Then in second, we had Team USA, maybe a little tough to swallow since it was on home soil. And being from the USA, it's kind of a tough one because it's either kind of a win or a failure dynamic. So unfortunately, they were first loser. But when you're going up against the Aussies, I mean, I'm not sure how much more they could have asked for. And I really hate to say that because I am an American. The colors don't run, unlike Australia's colors, which run from the field. But yeah, I was thinking we were probably going to need some help from Australia to get a win, and we almost got it. I mean, the first turn gods tried to take Webster out of it, but the dude just dug too hard. We didn't really have much of a chance. Great ride for Tomac to go 4-2. J. Coop was solid, put in a 10-10. He was the second best MX2 guy, and it wasn't necessarily a standout performance, but it was still really good and strong for the team result. And then unfortunately, the weak link was kind of RJ Hampshire, and I don't even mean that bad at all because I didn't find out until after the race, but RJ came in pretty banged up. I guess he tore some ribs off the fascia, maybe cracked a few, right as J. Coop went into the 250 class, so he wasn't really able to pull out at that time. That's what she said. But to show up, uncomfortable, injured, beaten, battered, bruised, you name it. I mean, the dude doesn't even have bones in his wrist, but yeah, to show up, to answer the call, to be a replacement rider, and to be hurt, and he just showed up and did nothing but send it. I mean, Rick had been pretty rock solid in outdoors this summer on a 450. I kind of thought it was a full changing of the guard, but yeah, he crashed more times at Ironman MXON than he did for the entire outdoor season. And then the grand finale, he crashed into the TV tower, so that kind of ended it, but I think that moto was probably going to be his drop score anyway. But yeah, with all that went on with Rick and the team, we had Chase, we had Deegan, they both went out, and then Rick raced injured, J. Coop had to drop down. With all those things that were kind of a disaster coming in, all in perspective, I actually think second place, it's a good result, tied with the French, so we barely squeaked it out, but yeah, obviously I wanted to see a win. I know all those guys wanted to win on the team, but yeah, Aussie's just better, and I think a second was a good result for the red, white, and blue. Then in third, we had Team France, who did not quite have their A team, but they still had Roman Fevre, Maxime Renault, and Mathis Villan. And the most impressive part of the team for me was actually Villan. First moto, he was battling to be the top MX2 rider. I think he got edged out by DeWolf right at the end. His second moto ended up being their drop score, but I believe Fevre had a consistent 5.5, maybe on a little bit of a world championship hangover. And then the weak link of that team was Maxime Renault. Apparently hates his Yamaha, which I don't really understand because Yamahas are great, but I'm sure there's real troubles there. I'm just a Yamaha guy, but Renault, super uncomfortable, not a fan of his bike or his team. Rumors of him even going to Ducati next year and breaking his contract, but all that aside, he was kind of the weak link. He just put in 2 subpar rides, and that was actually the main difference that put them third and USA second, because at the end of that final moto, Renault was passed by a privateer Yamaha, Isaac Gifting, who was a total hero from Sweden. But that pass and Geiser's pass on Fevre is actually what gave us second overall. So it was tight, but neither of us had the A team, and both ended up on the podium without choice. Fourth was Belgium, and oh, what could have been, man. So much potential. The Koonin brothers, they're unbelievable. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I think they're actually underrated. You know, even for Lucas almost being a world champion 2 years in a row and almost winning it in the 450 class at only age 18. But these twins are crazy legit. They are so fast. I mean, yeah, they do kind of hit the deck sometimes. You know, it happens. I've been there. Especially Sacha. The dude is just so small. I feel like he's actually kind of been boned by his size because he's a great rider. But I mean, dude, he can barely hang on to the thing. He's tiny. And then Lucas, this is an absolute elite world class talent. Only 18 years old. I think he's actually younger than Deegan, and you know, he couldn't quite hang with Jet. Who can? But yeah, he stayed reasonably close, and at 18 years old to go out and beat all those former world champions, you know, Tomac didn't have anything for him, so super impressive. And then even maybe the strongest part of the whole team was the third rider, Liam Everts. He usually rides a 250F, but he moved up to a 450 for this race, and in my opinion, he overperformed big time. I think he went 4-7, was solid all weekend long, and yeah, he was definitely the anchor of Team Belgium. But fourth this year, I'm going to look for that to be changed into a podium result for the several years to come because this is a really young team. The Coonans are only 18, and I think Everts is only maybe 21. So I don't think that team's going anywhere anytime soon. I mean, we could be in 2035, and this could still be the exact same team. So they're young. They're working out the kinks, but in my opinion, I think it's going to be very soon that we're going to see Team Belgium versus Team Australia brotherly battles for the MXON wins. Then in fifth, how about the underdog national, Team Slovenia? They had Tim Geiser with a third and a fourth. They had Jan Panzer. He had the ride of his life, total privateer. He gets a third in Moto 1. I had a lot more nice things to say about him, but then I saw that he brake checked RJ, which I really don't like. I mean, come on, brother, just race forward. Like, what are we doing? But then again, I'm criticizing him, but it actually worked perfectly. So I don't know. Who am I to talk, I guess? But we knew Geiser was going to be good. Panzer overperformed, and then their third rider on the 250, that was the massive weak link because I think they had to count like a 33rd place finish or something like that. So that kind of ruined their bid at a podium. But if that guy catches some fire, I mean, we could be talking about Slovenia being a total podium contender and maybe even a win on a crazy year. Sixth overall, a bit of an underwhelming day for Italy. They had Antonio Cairoli, Andrea Adamo, and Andrea Bonacorsi. And a bad day for Cairoli, a crash in the first moto. I think he broke his hand, and in true legend fashion, of course he soldiered through the rest of the day on the Ducati. And then Adamo, I think he just had a so-so day. I think he was about the third or fourth guy in MX2. And then Bonacorsi, I believe he had one good moto and one bad one, but the dude's 6'12". I think he should hit the basketball court if you ask me. Then in seventh overall, you had Team Sweden, and they were totally carried by Isaac Gifting. He put the team on his back. He probably ruptured a disc doing it, but yeah, awesome day for Isaac Gifting, and then his teammates backed him up good enough to get him a seventh overall. And while that is good, I kept finding myself wanting to say Freddie every time I saw the Swede colors. Freddie, get well soon, dude. We need you out there. Eighth overall, we had Team Swiss Chocolate with Jeremy Seward, Nico Groitman, and Valentin Guillot. And I think they would have been a little bit higher up, but Guillot had a bike issue in the first moto and had to pull it in. So they weren't able to use their 250 guys, the drop score. They had to count both of his motos. And then Seward had a bit of a rough day on the Ducati as well. I think he's having some issues with setup, issues with the engine, all kinds of stuff that is kind of in the contract on a new bike, unfortunately. So not the best day out of him, but still a solid eighth overall. Ninth for Team Latvia with the Rezelis brothers and Pauls Jonas. A very quiet day for all of them. Nobody really showed any flashes of brilliance or anything like that. Just kind of put in some quiet, solid rides, and it ended them up in the top 10. And then rounding out the top 10, Team Spain with Ruben Fernandez, Guillaume Ferrez, and Francisco Garcia. And unfortunately, no offense, but Garcia was the weak link because they had to put him on a 450. And he was just an EMX 250 racer this year, so he hasn't even really gone to, full GP level yet. So they couldn't have been expecting too much from him on the way in, especially just jumping onto a 450. But he stayed in all day. Ferrez had a decent day, and then Fernandez had a really good first moto and then a really bad second moto. So had Fernandez put two motos together, I think that could have vaulted him up a lot closer to the top 5. But if my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle, and she's not. And the team did not have Jorge Prado. At this time, if they had him on a Kawasaki, I actually think Jorge may or may not have even been a downgrade from Francisco Garcia. But now the rumor mill has Jorge practicing on a Red Bull KTM already. He's out of the Cowie deal, so in 2026, expect to see Prado back on this team and expect that result to be much higher up. 11th overall was Japan, which was led by Joe Shimoda with an awesome 450 debut. Second in the qualifying race, and then second overall on MX Open on Sunday. I don't know anything about his teammates. I don't even know how to say their names, but one of them had a star Yamaha, so that had to be a good boost to the program for sure. But yeah, Team Japan 11th. I think that's a pretty good result for him. 12th for Brazil, led by Enzo Lopes, and this is the most hyped team in motocross. If you guys have ever seen Brazilian arena cross or Brazilian motocross, I think they have the craziest fan base in the entire world. I'm actually thinking maybe we should do MXON in Brazil at some point, but it was really cool after they made the A main on Saturday. I saw them in the mechanics area. I thought they were going to take the whole structure down. They were celebrating so hard. I think they were doing maybe shots of tequila or something right there next to the mechanics area, but solid result for Team Brazil and a good ride for Enzo Lopes. It's good to see him back in the mix on the big stage. 13th for Estonia. They're always a good underdog country, but a little bit of a lackluster result from them this year. But still, I mean, I think that country's like the size of Rhode Island, and they always produce great riders, so shout out to Estonia. 14th, South Africa with Slade Smith, Camden McClellan, and at the time, I don't remember who their third guy is, but the team was definitely held down by McClellan. He has podiums in the GPs, and he's a great rider, and I was listening to an interview. Calvin Vlanderen is part South African, and then apparently Kyle Webster is as well, so they have this dream team idea that they want to get McClellan, Vlanderen, and Webster all on the same team, which I don't think it's going to happen, but imagine if they did. That would kind of be a force to be reckoned with. 15th overall, another what could have been for Team Germany. They were out of that thing after the first two corners on Sunday. Langenfelder weeded it headed into turn one. I think he got knocked out, so TKO. He was out for the day, and then panned over to the second corner, and there's Roxon down, which he was unbelievable on Saturday. Kept Jet in sight for a while, ended up getting second in a stacked field, and the poor dude just never got a chance to show it on Sunday. Actually, he never made it out of the first corner in either of his motos on Sunday. He did ride awesome, though. He had two massive charges from the back. It was really cool that you could hear the crowd behind him big time, you know, because Kenny's been here a long time. You know, he's basically an American, so it was really cool. It seemed like the crowd was behind him almost as much as they were behind the Americans. 16th overall for Great Britain. I don't really know much about what went down, but I do know they definitely didn't have their A team, so they struggled. Only a 16th. I'm sure they got to be bummed about that. 17th for Venezuela, led by Anthony Rodriguez, Lorenzo Lacrucio, and I'm not sure about their third guy, but good for them to make the A main. I think A-Rod had two decent results, and I think they were hurt by Lacrucio. I'm not sure what happened, but it doesn't look like he raced his last moto, so that ended up being their drop score. I'm sure they wanted their 250 guy to use that, but wasn't in the contract. 18th for Norway. I know nothing about what happened to these guys, but I do know if they had their A team with Kevin Horgmo and Cornelius Tundell, they would have been way further up, and this could be another underdog team to look out for in the future, maybe a Slovenia light. And here comes the bummers, all the way down to 19th, what could have been for Team Netherlands. And this is a little bit of a bummer for me for how they do MXON scoring, because if you go into Sunday missing a rider, no matter how good your two riders that aren't hurt do, you literally cannot beat a team that has all their riders. So the last two spots, Netherlands and Denmark, I mean, they got the shaft harder than you could possibly get it, because right after Saturday, they already knew they were battling for 19th and 20th. You know, Netherlands was missing Koldenhoff. He had an unfortunate big crash. He crashed into a lapper's bike in the rollers and had a massive get off. I was right there actually, but I just missed it. I was videoing Lucas Kuhnen coming through the pack, and I was facing the wrong way, and I didn't even know what happened until like the next day actually. But the Netherlands did have De Wolf. He won the MX2 class, and then Vlanderen had one good moto and one bad moto. So yeah, not much to really write home about at all for Team Netherlands or Team Denmark. I don't even know who Denmark was missing, and I don't even know who their other two riders are, but they did have Mikkel Harup. I think he actually had a little bit of a tough weekend. He didn't look quite like the Mikkel Harup we had in the Nationals here, but didn't matter. You were down a guy, and you were destined for 20th anyway. No choice. And those were all the teams in the A final. We had an unfortunate DNQ from our brothers from the north. Poor Canada, man. I kind of don't know how they managed to do it, because I know those guys are good, but it seems like year after year, they just managed to find a way to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory and not make the A main. And then we also had some surprising countries in the cut, if I'm being honest with you guys, especially with it being in the USA, it's not in Europe, so travel is kind of a pain in the ass for a lot of countries. But we had Uruguay, Israel, Morocco, Mexico, Iceland, Ukraine, and the Honduras all out there digging. MXON is for everybody. And then to briefly go through the individual results, in the MXGP class, we had Jet Lawrence with the win with a 1-3. Smashed the first moto like we all thought he would. Then the second moto, he tried to do a bit of a different smash because he smashed into Isaac Gifting. First lap crash with an epic comeback. Had he needed the extra juice for Team Australia, I kind of think he could have caught at least Tomac and made it a 1-2 instead of a 1-3, but they easily had it as a team, and Jet had it for the overall for himself, so 1-3 for him, and then a 4-2 for Eli Tomac for second overall. Not quite beast mode material. I got a little carried away in my video, and I said beast mode a few times because I heard the Yamaha revving. It just got me excited, but a decent day for ET. Not a bad day. I think it was actually a better day than he had at the National a couple of months ago, but second overall in MXGP behind Jet Lawrence. I really don't know how much more you're supposed to ask for, actually. Then 3 through 5, we had the GP trio with Tim Geiser 3rd, Roman Fevre 4th, and Lucas Kunin 5th. Of the three of those guys, Kunin was definitely the fastest, but he had a good first moto with the second, and then he had a crash, no rear fender. Don't know if he looped his Larry or what, but only was able to manage 10th in the second moto. And that right there was kind of the story of the Kunins and Team Belgium. They were crazy fast, but just couldn't quite hold it together. But Geiser and Fevre were pretty quiet in 3 and 4, and like I mentioned earlier, total standout ride from Isaac Gifting, a 7-8 for 6th overall. And this MXGP class was stacked. I mean, he got 7-8 in that class and with it combined with MX Open. So he beat some really good guys. He's a privateer rider. And somebody give this guy a damn factory bike, please. Let's see what he can do. 7th for Seawer, we mentioned him earlier. Not really the day he was looking for. 8th for Roxon, coming from the back all day long. 9th overall for Enzo Lopes, 10th for Caroli, and 11th for Ruben Fernandez. And then into MX2, Kai de Wolf takes the win. He goes 8-8 in the motos, but he was the top MX2 rider. Second was Jay Coop, right behind him with a 10-10, and then third was Matisse Villan with a 9-14. Adama was fourth, 12-12. I kind of expected to maybe hear or see a little bit more from him, but he was pretty quiet all weekend long. Come from behind rides, always in the contract for Kyle Webster, 15-13 for 5th overall, and I think he even went 6-4 out of the 250s from all on the ground in turn 1. Total legendary ride. But 6th was Camden McClellan, 7th was Mikel Haralp, 8th, Guillaume Ferez, and I love the story of this dude, man. I guess Star Racing found this dude in like a Spanish grocery store. He had a friend that had an in at Star, got him a tryout, shows up to Budds Creek and gets a top 10. Unfortunately, his stint in America didn't quite work out because he had several injuries and just some unlucky breaks, so he had to go back to Europe, but he's with the Triumph team. He's got good backing, and he's got another year on the deal. I think he got a moto win this year in the GPs, so I'm sure it was an adjustment to go back from land of the free, home of the brave, and then go back home to gloomy Europe. But this dude is super talented. I'm really looking forward to seeing what he's got going forward, and we're Guillaume Ferez fans on this channel, no choice. But then 9th in MX2 was Sacha Kunin, and I kind of think this kid was actually the fastest one at the race in this class. I mean, the qualifying race, I couldn't believe he held it together. He had pressure from De Wolf, Jay Coop, Langenfelder, and all of those guys at multiple points in the motos. He had some close calls. Those are never going to go away, but he did manage to hold it together for that qualifying race. Unfortunately for him, that kind of led me to believe, and I ended up being right, that if he held it together in the qualifying race, he probably used up his moto that he was going to hold it together for, because he doesn't usually put two together, although he was better at the end of the GP season. But the poor kid's just so small, man. He's loose, he's sketchy, he's wild, but he's so fast. And honestly, at the end of the day, both of the Kunin brothers made a massive fan out of me, because they send it, they crash, they get up, and they still send it. They ride with a lot of heart. They're really good, and yeah, stay tuned to the Kunin twins, because they are next level. 10th for killer Yanis Rezulis, but I don't really think he killed anybody back in 10th. And then last place, what a bummer for the MX2 world champion Simone Langenfelder. He was actually pretty underwhelming in the qualifying race on Saturday, but then Sunday, he never even got the chance to underwhelm again, because yeah, only made it to the first turn. He took a nap, and that was that. And then finally, for MX Open, a 1-1 sweep for Hunter Lawrence. Finally beats Jet, and that dude never got roosted all weekend. I think he hole-shotted the qualifying race, hole-shotted both motos on Sunday, led every single lap, and I think there's only 6 or 7 people maybe in history that have done that, which, surprisingly enough, I think one person on that list was Ryan Villapoto on a 250F. But all that aside, amazing day for Hunter. Did exactly what he needed to do for Australia. Pretty much did exactly what we thought he would do, besides maybe beating Jet. But yeah, great day for Hunter. Great way to cap off the season. And yeah, I think this Hunter versus Jet thing, this thing might be heating up before our very eyes, because Hunter is really coming on strong. Second for Joe Sushi Wasabi Shimoda with a 2-6. Awesome first moto in the MX2, MX3 race, and then he was up front, really riding good, running with all the top guys in that third moto, and then I heard him say in some interviews he just got tired, wasn't quite strong enough or ready to hang onto that bike for 2 minutes. For 2 motos, 30+2, back to back. And that's another dynamic about this race, is the motos, the turnaround is even quicker than a Pro National. So I think they go back, they have like 30 to 35 minutes to sit there and rest, and then they head straight back up. So Joe got a little cooked by the end of the day, but still a great ride from him. An outstanding performance from Liam Everts, a 4.7 for 3rd overall in front of Maxime Renault in 4th. And then 5th, another standout for Jan Panzer. Good first moto and then a decent second moto. 6th was Bonacorsi. 7th was Pauls Jonas, and I actually expected a little more of him. I don't really know that I saw him or noticed him more than a couple of times all weekend. I think actually The only time I really paid attention to him was when he was battling with J. Coop on the 250, and J. Coop actually crashed and got back around him. So a little bit of an underwhelming performance for Paul's Jonas, but who knows? Maybe he's got Prado syndrome on the Cowie. 8th for Kulas, 9th for RJ with a 7:33, and it bums me out to see people hating on RJ, man. Like, Team USA, they were down and out. 2 guys were hurt, 2 of the 3, and he answered the call. He wadded up during the week. He was banged up. Most people probably would have called it, but he showed up. He did it for his country. And yeah, he crashed a lot, but like, the dude was laying it out there. He put it all on the line, was throwing everything he had at it, the kitchen sink and more. And yeah, he might have ended up smashing a TV camera, but the dude will never cheat you on effort. He did it for the country, and it might not have worked out, but yeah, I'm about 100% sure that RJ's crashing was not the difference between USA winning and losing. So it is what it is. Shout out to RJ for representing the country. But then 10th was Conrad Muse, 11th Alvin Osland, 12th Calvin Valandrin, 1 good moto and 1 bad moto. Same with Valentin Guillot, 13th overall with a 35 and 11. And then last but not least in the MX Open class, 14th was Spain's weak link, Francisco Garcia. But wow, that's all I got for you guys for today's video. I feel like I just talked for quite some time. Hopefully the footage overlay was a lot better than just looking at my ugly face. But yeah, definitely let me know what you guys thought about the video in the comments. Let me know if you agree with what I said, if you disagree, if you think I'm a cooked unit, if you want to complain about how I talk, all that stuff. We're always here for it, and we always will be. But thank you guys again for watching. I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me, and I'll catch you guys next time.